Welcome back, everybody. Dr. Jen Ashton is joining us, giving us COVID updates. You know, before we move on to colleges, I want to talk really quickly about elementary school. These kids are so young, some of them. It's very hard to convince kids that age not to be on top of each other and to wear their protective face coverings, their masks. What do you suggest parents do to protect their kids?
Well, Kelly, you're so right. And I couldn't help but think of, we taught them to use the potty. We know that kids can learn literally anything, but it is a lot to ask of this age group. So what pediatricians are recommending is that you take advantage of this time over the summer to not only lead by example and practice those masks around the house. Now, of course, we're talking about kids over the age of 2. But when you're reading with your child, draw the masks on their characters in the book, put it on dolls or stuffed animals, make it as normal as possible. And then, of course, when they get used to the mask, you have to try to have them get used to not touching their face and washing their hands more. So it's a lot, but anything can be done. We know that as moms.
It's true.
And you mentioned colleges. So what's the story with, for example, your kid? I mean, you both have students. What do you know so far about their return to college?
Well, college is a specific and different group. And I think first, just emotionally and psychosocially and developmentally, this is time they will not get back, whether they take a year off or they're doing remote learning. It has, permanent effects on them. And yes, they're resilient, but it is for sure disappointing. My daughter, as you guys mentioned, plays Division I ice hockey. They're probably not going to have a season this year, and that affects recruiting classes, rosters, eligibility, students from other countries that may or may not be getting back into the country. So there's a lot at play, but interesting advances that they're looking at for college communities, something called pooled testing, where they do it as surveillance. They test 5, 10, maybe 50 people at a time. And if one sets off a positive signal, then they individually test everyone in that group. So that can be a surveillance method, hopefully, that we can see sometime soon. And also, you guys, believe it or not, looking at sewage water. COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2 has been detected in wastewater. And there are states in this country, other countries in the world, already looking at that as a means of surveillance. So you can look at dorms and communities. But again, this is such a complicated logistical issue, and there's medical, scientific, economic, academic. There's so many moving parts here.
Whoever has to look at the waste of a college dorm should get some sort of special medal, some sort of elevated status in heaven. I can't imagine who draws the short straw on that job.
Totally.
Really. We should also point out that Dr. Jen's daughter just completed her freshman year at Harvard. I just would like to point that out there.
And Division I ice hockey.
She's too humble to point that out, so
Listen,
I'll point that out.
She did not get the ice hockey skills from me, I can assure you. But yeah, I mean, listen, whatever your child does in college, there's a lot at stake in it. And it's really hard to support them emotionally and academically and logistically through this. I mean, but again, remember, whether you're talking about college or elementary school, it's not just the risks to those students. It's the ripple effect and the faculty and staff and employees and parents and grandparents. And that's actually the vulnerable population that we have to think about here. So, just a lot.
Dr. Jen, just thinking broadly here, how I know we're talking about the vaccine, so the vaccine comes. When does it come? We don't know. But how long will this be part of our lives and part of our world?
I'm so glad you asked that, Ryan, because when we are weighing, let's say, going back to school in August or September, and people are, or in my daughter's case, delaying the season possibly till January, my question, and in talking to public health officials and infectious disease specialists and, the country's top coronavirus task force members, the question is, What is the end point? We don't think this will look any different in January, really, than it looks in August or September. Could even be slightly worse. So, and same thing for May. We have to learn how to live with this virus until we have widespread availability to vaccines and more testing. And so that question, you hit the nail right on the head. What is the end point? And we just don't know yet. There's so many unknowns still.
When we do have that vaccine and it's readily available, does that solve the problem?
Well, time will tell. First of all, we can have a vaccine, but if the majority of the country doesn't get vaccinated, that's not going to do us very much good. And our ability to test and with good turnaround time to get results in a matter of days or hours, not a week, that we can actually use those results will definitely help us. So will better treatments. But until that time, wear that mask, stay 6 feet or more apart, and keep your hands clean, because that is our only hope to getting back to some kind of functionality.
You know, I've got to tell you, Dr. Jen, you have been really giving such great advice on, you should really, if you're confused about all of it, if you don't know, like me, you wake up every day and you read 8,000 things. Dr. Jen's show, Pandemic, What You Need to Know on ABC, will take you through it in a very practical, very easy to understand way for parents like me, non-parents, citizens of the world. You're doing an outstanding job, Dr. Jen, really.
Kelly, Ryan, thank you guys so much. Listen, this is challenging and there's a lot we don't know, but that medical and scientific integrity about saying what we know, saying what we don't know, how to help people assess their own risk and benefit, because we're all in this together, and it's difficult, and you have to recognize how difficult it is and just do the best we can. And you guys have been amazing with helping people do that as well.
Well, thanks for this dialogue today. Very helpful. Thanks for the wisdom and the insights. Take care, and I'm sure we'll talk real soon.
See you guys soon. Mwah.
Okay, bye. Take care.